All right, so for those that don't know me, my name is Briant Anthony Campbell. I'm a self-taught developer. I was born here in the great city of Detroit, born and raised. I started my development career professionally in 2015. I've pretty much focused my career pretty much entirely on small, scrappy startups. And so my developer's philosophy is one that really focuses more so on finding great, efficient tools that can give you the best bang for your buck. Because of course, when you're working in the startup world, you're working with constrained resources. And so you have a very limited runway. And so the entire objective is to build as much as you can as fast as possible. And one of those tools that I came across that really, it truly does speed up development and it can really save your butt, and that is Ngrok. So let's get right into it. So what exactly is Ngrok? So you have a basic understanding of what it is, but it is effectively a globally distributed reverse proxy coined as ingress as a service. And so the most popular feature that most developers use is the secure web tunnel. That's where you can expose your local host to the internet, and you can do this in a way where you don't have to make any code changes at all. There's multiple ways of implementing Ngrok, but most people just use it as a global command line interface. Before I get too far into this, has anyone here ever used Ngrok before, or at least heard of it? Oh, great, okay, really great. So
what? This is amazing. What? Michael, we did it. We did it, Mike. We exposed people to Ngrok. This is amazing.
Yeah, this
we
is
did
amazing.
it.
Yeah. So just by a show of hands, does anyone here do back-end development? Work with APIs? Okay. Have you ever run into a problem with testing webhooks like Stripe, for example? Not really? So an issue that you're going to run into when you're testing your local development server is that Stripe only allows you to use a public-facing URL. And so you can't really use localhost in order to test those. It's more of a security thing. And so Ngrok is effectively a tunnel that will give you that public URL so that you can finally test it. It's also very effective with Facebook OAuth. So if anyone has ever implemented Facebook OAuth, you're going to know that, oh, holy crap, localhost doesn't work. Some of the other providers like Google, they do allow that, but Facebook, Instagram, I believe, they do not allow you to use a localhost. Also, Auth0. Has anyone here used Auth0 before? Okay, so you know you can't use localhost to test that. All right, perfect. And so when you're using Ngrok, there's multiple ways to use it. You have the command line interface, so you're going to use that inside of your terminal. There's another way using the REST API, so you can actually program it into your code base, actually. There's a lot you can really do with this. They have a web app as well, so you can log in and manage the endpoints that you create. You can also create custom domains. There's just a lot of things you can do. They also, we'll get right into it. So why actually use this? So I've kind of covered a lot of this already. So Facebook, OAuth, verifying webhooks, but there's another really powerful use case that I actually really, really love to use, and that's within the context of mobile development. Has anyone here ever worked with mobile at all? Perfect. So you know when you're using your physical device, you cannot use localhost, right? But it only works inside the simulator. But Ngrok will actually allow you to test your local host with your physical device, because you know using the simulator is not quite the same as using the physical device. And so, and you can also use Ngrok to test your front-end client as well. So it's not limited to your back-end. You can also expose your front-end. So if you have a Node app and you have port, let's say 3000, right? You can expose port 3000, and you can use that URL on your physical device and actually see how it responds, how the mobile responsiveness works. So how does it all work? This is just a very, very basic rudimentary diagram of how everything kind of gels together, all right? So here, can you see my cursor? Yeah. You have your local host, just assuming that you're in the JavaScript You're gonna have like React for the front end or either Node.js on the back end, but this works with pretty much any technology. So whether that's Python, Ruby on Rails, if anyone still uses that, Go, anything. So you expose a port, and then Ngrok then it returns a public URL for you, and that's effectively what's happening here. So I'm not sure if you guys have access to the repo for this or not. Max, is there any water anywhere? Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, so I have cotton mouth right now. My apologies, guys. Oh, this is interesting. 1 second, guys. Technical difficulties. So, just in case you don't have that up, let's see if this is, I can make this bigger so you guys can see it. It's not the most updated version, but that's okay. Okay, so if you want to follow along, there are some prerequisites here. We're gonna check your Node.js version if you are using Node. Thank you. So you wanna be at least version 16. You're gonna want to install Yarn globally. And then I'm assuming that you're probably using a MacBook Pro. A lot of people here do have MacBook Pros, so that's great. And then of course, you're gonna have a REST client installed. So we talked about Postman in the last presentation. So whether that's Postman or Insomnia, you would go ahead and use one of those to test the API out. So let's begin by actually installing Ngrok. So if you have Homebrew installed, which you probably should if you're a web developer, let's go ahead and test. Oh, can you see? Oh, that is very small. Here, I'll create a new window for you. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly verify the Ngrok is not installed. So this is gonna be a very fresh situation here. So brew, install Ngrok. I'm just gonna wait for that. Oh, great. So let's test our version. All right, so yes, we are on version 3.1. So if you have a system that is not a MacBook Pro, there is an alternative way to install this. You can install this as a NPM package as well. However, you're gonna run into an issue where some of these commands may not work 100% because the version on NPM is actually version 2, the version you get when you install it via Homebrew. It's going to be at least version 3.1, so you have access to more updated functionality here. So let's go back here. We checked our version already. And if you want to follow along, please feel free to do so. This is interesting. Okay, so my computer is doing something weird. Okay, so now that we have Ngrok installed, we're actually going to connect this. We're gonna actually authenticate our Ngrok. So let me actually use the different. So the reason why we want to authenticate this is because you want to actually connect what's happening in your localhost to Ngrok's servers because you get additional functionality that you wouldn't get if your application was not effectively registered or authenticated. There's a lot of cool things you can do, such as set up a permanent domain. You can set up permanent subdomains as well. There's a lot of really, really cool things you can do with that. And I'm gonna show you some of those. I'm having some slight technical issues here. My computer's a bit slow, but we're gonna actually grab this auth token right here, if you click that link, or we can also just copy this line here. Okay, the auth token was saved, so that's great. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually spin up our local backend. So I have one that's already here. If you were to pull down the repo, all right, you're gonna run yarn install. And remember, if you don't have yarn installed already, you can just do npm with the G flag and then yarn just to make sure you have that on your system. All right, and so, so we are using Strappy, by the way. So Strappy CMS, has anyone here heard of Strappy CMS? Okay, great. So it does like a lot of things out the box for you, which is like really great. It's a great combination with this here. So it's a very simple command. Okay, so now we have our local host. So the port here is going to be 1337, all right? So now let's go ahead and, well, before we do that, let's just log in really quickly so I can show you what we're working with here. Okay, so normally when you first log into this, you are not going to see the screen immediately. You're going to have to actually create a new user account. So this is assuming you've already created a user account, right? Okay. Sorry about this, guys. My computer is a bit slow. There's another cool feature with this. I'm not going to go too deep into this naturally, but I just wanted to show you what's possible. It's all going to come together. I'm going to show you. Okay, so these are our Swagger docs. So everything is nice and documented here. So now I'm going to show you where Ngrok becomes kind of interesting. So we're going to use this window here. Make sure you guys can see that okay. All right, Ngrok, HTTP. And then we're just going to do a basic one for now. So we're going to use the port name, which is 1337. All right, so it's going to spit back this URL here. By a show of hands, can everyone see my terminal okay, or should I make that larger for you? Larger? Okay. Okay, so we have a web interface here. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But we have the forwarding URL, which is what we're going to actually use. Oops. Okay, so if you notice the URL here, we now have a secure URL that is a public-facing URL. You could literally use this right now to demo this anywhere in the world. And it's just that simple. That one command you saw, that's how you use Ngrok. That's literally it. You can do that for the front end. You can do that for the back end. All right. Now, there's another really cool feature that I'm really, really excited about. So it has this web interface as well. So now that Ngrok is already running, you can actually introspect any traffic that's coming in through your server. So I'm going to quickly show you. It's port 4040. So as you see here, you see all the traffic that's come through here. And you can also replay some of the API calls that have happened. And so with our backend, I'm going to quickly do two things. I'm going to register a new user, and then I'm going to log into that user, and then I'm going to show you the traffic that's generated here. So for that, I'm going to use, I personally use Insomnia. And so this is, I'm going to just create, can you see this okay? Let's see. No, plus ones don't work, actually. Okay, so this is the request body you're going to use. And if you notice the URL here, let me zoom out a little bit. If you notice, I am going to use the correct URL host. We're skipping ahead. Okay, so when I hit send, this request should work. It has worked. It gives us our JWT token back. It created the user in the database, Briant@evermere.com. And you can also introspect this traffic here. Let me show you. All right. So it's going to show you all the request objects that came through. It's going to show you the response object as well. And all of this persists. So even if you were to stop running your Ngrok, this would actually persist, which is pretty cool because you're authenticated. All right, so now I'm going to quickly log in. All right, same thing, and then we can see the traffic. So you can literally, now do you see how powerful this is? I'm not sure if you guys, yeah, all right, you get it. All right, cool. So let's get back on track here. All right, so now that we have our endpoints already running, we can go to the Ngrok dashboard. It's already open here. That should be fine. So if you go to Cloud Edge and endpoints, you're actually going to see all of your running endpoints here. So you can literally manage all this from a web UI as well. Do you see how cool? Like this is pretty cool. And so there's another cool feature. You can actually go to your admin page from inside of Ngrok, right? So another cool thing is when you close it, it's actually going to ask you if you want to reserve it. So that's something I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is reserved for pro accounts. So I believe you have to have a paid account in order to reserve a domain. However, assuming that you do have it, you can just create whatever you want. Test. I'm not going to set up a new domain. Okay, so there's another feature I wanted to show you. So these subdomains, they're okay, they're cool, but you can also set up a custom domain. So for example, say your company is, I don't know, Bob's Classic Kicks or something, right? You can set up a subdomain with bobsclassickicks.ngrok.io, and then you can use that so it can actually persist, and you can reserve that so you can reuse it for later use. So I'm saying this to say you could literally incorporate this into your developer toolchain permanently if you want to. So let's actually do that. Let's stop this one. And this is the command, ngrok http subdomain. I'm just gonna, which one should I create? Why not? And then the port is 1337. Okay, so now we have bobclassickicks.ngrok.io. Then if we go back over to our Ngrok web UI, you're going to see it show up right here, and we can do the same thing. You notice how it does still open up your backend. When you close it, it's going to ask if you want to reserve it. Click here to reserve. I don't need a new domain. Yeah, I'll just, whatever. Let's cancel that. It only takes one click in order to actually save it. So I have quite a few custom domains here, and so the reason why the custom domains is a powerful feature is because once you close your Ngrok, you will lose that. It is ephemeral, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to see, so I'm having some issues with my Git repo here, but I'm going to see if I can tunnel into my front end for you. There is something here. Okay, yarn install. So this is a Next.js front end, nothing too fancy. All right, so that local host is running. You can also have multiple Ngrok tunnels open at a time. That is not correct. This is port 3000, I believe. Let's just say front end. Oops. Oh, this is reserved. Someone already picked that one, so that's showing you that this functionality works pretty well. So let's just create hacking with the homies 2023 Next.js. Okay, that one worked. Okay. So now, I just want to paint a picture for you guys. When you have your front end running this way, you can literally open up your iPhone right now. If you were to open up literally right now, you can use this URL and you can see exactly what I have on my local host. So hacking with the homies 2023 Next.js.ngrok.io, and it's going to show you exactly what I have right here. I'm sorry. So this is what the blog looks like. Can anyone see that? Here, I'm going to leave this on the screen for you, just in case if you wanted to try it. Did anyone manage to test this URL out? I see some traffic. I see traffic. Somebody got there. That was you, all right. And so, if you're trying to demo some functionality, I'll leave that up for you guys. If you're trying to demo something really quickly, this is a really great use case when using your front end. And remember, I have my back end set up as a tunnel, and then I have my front end doing that as well. So while you're in the middle of a meeting and someone brings up something, hey, we're missing a field here, you can literally, as a full stack developer, add that field on the spot, and it'll update your front end. You can make some UI changes in a live meeting, and you can handle all that in a working meeting, and it just really cuts down on development time for sure. So yeah, and actually, let me show you the introspection on the front end as well. Yeah, I see all the traffic. This is great. So you guys see this firsthand. Uh-oh. I'll do 40, 41. Okay, so this is all the traffic that has come through since we've created this tunnel. So that's somebody. Somebody else got it. Somebody else got it. Nice, nice. And so that is the power of Ngrok. And that will conclude my presentation.